It was
Yeah,
crazy, man. Like
that's funny.
at that point, I was like, you know, I don't know how many like Miller Lights I drank to get through that whole process, but I was
Sure.
backstage like, ah.
Cool. So you're originally from Santa Barbara,
Santa Barbara.
born and
Yep,
raised there?
born and raised there. Yeah, my family's like 8 generations deep in Santa Barbara, so I
Wow.
actually feel like at some point in time I might need to venture back, or at least
Sure.
go find myself a house on the Riviera there that looks at the ocean.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
kind of
That's
the ultimate
crazy to
goal.
have a family like rooted in Santa Barbara. I mean, like I said, I was born and raised in San Diego, but both my parents moved there in the early 80s for work from like Ohio. And like
Okay.
San Diego
Oh,
was
yeah.
such a small town at that time. But to have a family that was, generations that have grown up in Santa Barbara, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. There's it's an old Spanish settlement. There's a really old mission there and a bunch of old stonework around the mission. And I think the Lopez family, they were all like stone masons back in the day, built a lot of like the walls and stuff around the
Wow,
old mission and stuff. So
that's rad.
not glamorous work, but it's we've been there forever.
But still history there. That's dope. That's really
Yeah, it
cool.
is cool.
Awesome. And how did you get into music?
Um, yeah, and I mean, I grew up around a lot of like luckily just had a lot of friends who were great musicians from the get-go. I
Mhm.
feel like I've always been playing catch up. Um, like my one of my closest friends that actually did move with me from Santa Barbara to Austin was kind of one of the first inspirational musical um, characters in my life. Was already playing in bands at like 15 years old. Everybody in school would, pile into small clubs on the weekend to watch him play. And he was kind of one of those dudes that could just like sit in front of anybody and be captivating.
Uh-huh.
Great lyricist, really kind of dark, twisted life. So always had like, this great well to pull from lyrically and stuff. And so for me, it was like one of those things where I watched other people do it and was so enamored that I
Uh-huh.
just kind of figured I need to do this. It was that was kind of like the draw.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I grew up from age maybe like 14 or 15, going to a lot of like pop punk and punk rock shows in Santa Barbara. There was a pretty good scene there, actually.
Yeah.
Um, and so just kind of got the bug watching all those bands come through and letting all your teenage angst out in mosh
Sure.
pits and small clubs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of where it started for me. Started playing guitar kind of as I was leaving high school and going into college. I started to really take guitar seriously,
Mhm.
um, and instantly joined a band. So I could hardly play power chords when I first joined a band, and was just already up on stage, kind of hacking through it and learning to sing harmonies and stuff like that. So
Was
uh,
that in college you joined a band?
yeah, so I was yeah, about 20, I think.
Okay.
Joined my first band. And yeah, I was at Santa Barbara City College at the time,
Mhm.
taking a songwriting course there too. Got a pretty awesome songwriting class there. And yeah, just learned by jumping in, you know, and and had to learn quick. The band that I was in was full of guys who had been doing it for 5 or 6 years, and we wrote a record and recorded it ourselves, but got picked up by Capitol Records right away.
Wow.
So it's kind of like you know
So you
when you're
guys
coming.
actually so the record was must have been pretty amazing for a
I mean,
major to, you know.
yeah, I mean, back in those days, they would offer you development deals. Do you remember
Mhm.
that stuff? It
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
so they obviously heard the potential, and for them, it's like, oh, these guys have already recorded this album. It's free. They're not
Right.
paying for us to be in the studio or anything like that. So, pretty cool deal, actually. I mean, for people or for kids our age, it was like, I've been working side jobs and trying to do the band, and they started paying us a certain amount per month just to play a certain amount of shows per month. So it was like,
Wow. Like
we
a gig, like
yeah,
a salary job almost.
true development deal. It was like you need to quit your jobs and do this, and yeah, it was like probably the best day of my life was like walking into. I was working at a hotel resort
Uh-huh.
in Santa Barbara, and the singer of my band at that time and we both worked there, and we both kind of disliked our boss. So we walked in the morning we like got the confirmation that we were signed to Capitol. We walked in, we're like, we're done, and just walked
Yeah.
out, you know.
That's awesome.
Uh, yeah, and started doing that, and we did tour a little bit, but ultimately, something about the creative process in that band like really damaged our friendship between the four of us. And
Mhm.
after a little bit of time, it was like, this is just not going to happen. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I think we all were very, very close, loved each other, but it was like the band is going to make us hate each other, and so we broke it up.
Mhm.
And at that time, I was managed by the same manager that managed the Plain White Tees.
Oh, okay.
So from there, he was like, "Hey, if you're done with your band over here, these guys need a touring guitar player. Do you want to try out?" And so I did that. Tried out
Okay.
one day and was in the next day. So
Wow. And then that's when, I mean, because they had one record prior to you joining the band, right?
yep.
But then you joined the band and it like really, I mean, you guys
Yeah, and I
skyrocketed.
don't attribute the success to my joining that band, but I think that they were primed. Like um, Tom, the singer of Plain White Tees, had already sent around "Hey There, Delilah."
Mhm.
Um, uh, Prior to me even joining that band, I had heard that song. So that song being the band's biggest, springboard moment. You know, he already had that going before I joined, and
Mhm.
so it was kind of offered as like, hey man, I know you haven't toured a ton, but we tour nonstop, and if you want to travel the country with us, like and make $0 doing it, feel free. So and, yeah, I was looking for that type of you know life experience, and I felt like at that time in my life I needed that, was just to grind with somebody and
Mhm.
tour like crazy and earn something, and we did.
But
So
aside from Hey There, Delilah, I mean, you guys have a ton of hits. Like, I mean, it
yeah,
wasn't like a one hit and then that like the band kind of just didn't do anything. It was like you guys
no,
progressively like put out amazing music.
yeah, it was varying degrees of hits, right?
Mhm.
Our first, like quote unquote hit was actually an alternative song called "Hate," and that was
Mhm.
prior to Delilah. And that didn't really, pop off at like pop radio or anything like that. But you know, at that time in the band, we were on like Warp Tour, doing summer Warp Tour, and "Hate" was huge on alternative radio, so kids were going nuts for that song. And then that kind of transitioned into Delilah and Our Time Now, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and Rhythm of Love. So
Mhm.
we had a good little stretch there, um, where just felt like we were cruising. So
What was it like? Like, I mean, seeing like having. I mean, I don't know if your other band had like a song on the radio or anything. What was it like being, kind of achieving that next level of success?
yeah. All it really meant was that you were going to work, 10 times as hard,
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the job is the same. It's just that you're so busy when things are working out well for you,
Hmm.
which is a total blessing. I mean, you know, I've been on both ends of things where you're sitting around and you're not working, and that will drive me nuts. But if I'm busy and working my ass off, then I feel like things are obviously going in the right direction. But yeah, let's see, between "Hate" and Delilah and Our Time Now that year, we basically didn't go home. There was times we would play 3 shows in one day. It would be like wake up, go to a radio station, play the songs live on radio, go to like a promotional event at a mall and play like a daytime show for a record store or
Hmm.
something like that when there was such a thing.
Yeah, they do like the little in-store shows.
Yep, and then go to a club or a venue and play a show that night, and then sometimes either get on a plane that night and fly to the next city or wake up very first thing, fly to the next city and do the whole thing. And so for like 300 days of that year, that's what we did. So we were exhausted, but
Mhm.
I mean, making just giant leaps forward with the band. You know, coming from like a an indie label with not enough advertising dollars to really even put on a campaign like that, to getting shot up to Hollywood Records and having them just send us on that kind of whirlwind journey. You know,
Was that a huge moment for you guys signing to Hollywood?
absolutely, yeah.
What was that like? I mean, you had already had the opportunity to like sign to a major at one point. Was it different with Plain White Tees?
Mhm. Yeah, I think so because, man, my first band, I feel like they were really, really nervous to relinquish like any sort of like control to a major label, and I think with Tom and the T's, it was kind of like, let's do this thing, and you know, we'd been on an indie for a while, and we'd seen what that was like, and obviously it had gone well. Fearless Records was a good home for us,
Hmm.
and treated us really well. But yeah, I think just knowing that like somebody, you know, at some point, you know, you create the music, it's your art form or whatever. But once it's in the hands of the label, then it's a product,
Sure.
and you're looking for the best distribution of your product. You know,
Hmm.
so I think the T's were business minded enough to know that like, okay, this is a totally separate side of things from the art, and these people want to put the money behind and they want to see us succeed so that they can succeed. So it was just you know, record deals can be brutal for artists, but at the same time, we certainly credit our A&R guy and a lot of the folks at Hollywood Records for blowing up those songs.
Hmm.
So
I mean, having the song, like, I mean, Hey There, Delilah, that one summer, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing it. I mean, was that like, must have been just such a wild experience for you.
yeah, pretty awesome. I mean, to go from what kind of felt like, you know, like I mentioned before, like a garage Warp Tour style band to, you know, we were at the Grammys that year. We were at the
Yeah.
Music Awards. It's just, you know, very, very wild.
Was it validating being in the same room as some of those people? I mean, you're up for the biggest award in music.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool.
Mhm.
I think at the time, because we were working so hard, I felt like, you know, like I rode an elevator with Beyonce down into like, you know, into like the Grammys or something. And it's not like I felt like I was on the level or anything, because I know how incredibly talented you know, she is, and all those people are that are there in that room. But we certainly felt like we had put in the work.
Right. You
Um,
obviously belonged, right? You belonged to that club.
a song is a song. If it resonates, it resonates, and you know, I feel like anybody who breaks through in that kind of way should be in the room. You know.
Sure.
It's dude,
Sure.
it's not easy to stay consistent and write hit songs. It's really not. Those guys in Nashville where you're at who can just like sit in a writer's room and just crush out hits. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for that. It's, you know, you've got to be a wordsmith and pretty solid with your music theory and great with your playing and all that. It's
Yeah.
all got to be on the level. So
But like we said, I mean, you guys didn't just have the one hit. You know what I mean? It was like you followed it up with hit and another hit and another hit. It wasn't like it was Hey There Delilah and then the band disintegrated. It was that
yeah,
was just kind of the platform that really brought people's eyes to you, I'd feel like.
yeah, I think so. I mean, luckily, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't think that that hit songs are that easy to come by, but sometimes they're just like gifted to you, you know. So
Sure.
Like Tom, always showed up with post Delilah. He always showed up with one song that felt like, okay, damn, like this record can come out. We've got that one song. And then with Rhythm of Love, I think we felt like that with my hit song with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a very lucky kind of a blessing type of thing where you're just like, all right, we'll take it.
I love it. Well, I want to talk to you about this solo project that you've started
Yeah,
and
man.
how this came about, and when did the idea happen, and like when did you decide to do a solo record?
I mean, I decided to do the record during the shutdown of
Oh,
everything.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I had some of the songs already, um, just being that I have, you know, kind of been constantly writing over the years.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, man, the pandemic really kind of made me feel like, for a bit, like you're losing control a little bit. Like um, having the inability to go out and tour and work in that way. Um, and then at the same time, talking with the Tease guys and going, how's writing coming along with you, Tom? And sometimes the
Mhm.
other guys will contribute a song. And because, we went for quite some time where they're like, just kind of laying low, not really doing much. I felt like really unsettled with that whole mentality of like, okay, so there's certain things that I cannot control, obviously with coronavirus or
Right, right.
whatever, right? But even with the band, it was like, listen, I need this for myself. I need an outlet for myself. I need to take a little bit of control back into my own hands.
Hmm.
I want to release something that is solely me, and as soon as I kind of let that seed get planted, I just kind of ran and felt like, all right, you know, my wife's been encouraging me for the longest time, like, you got to put out some of these songs that are not really typical tease style songs.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, as soon as I kind of decided on the idea of putting out a record, I really got gung ho. Got in the studio with a couple folks out here in Austin. Um, got some great players together, and yeah, just about ready to start hitting the stage with it and everything. So
I
pretty
love it.
fun, man. It definitely helped me through the last like 4 or 5 months of everything being shut down in most places. Texas has been pretty open, but
Yeah, we're pretty open here in Nashville too, for
nice.
to a certain extent. I don't know how many shows, or I haven't really heard shows happening, but like as far as people being together and out and about,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely a lot different than when I came from San Diego.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is here too. There are shows starting to happen. A lot of them are limited capacity here,
Mhm.
but starting to open up. And
See a
so,
light there, which is nice.
yeah, man, yeah,
Well, I'm curious to like, because I mean, Plain White Tees were pretty active right before the pandemic happened. I mean, you guys were, you played a show actually with my brother-in-law's band. It was like in Pomona area. You played outside. It was freezing cold. It was like at a street fair. It wasn't that, I mean, 2019 maybe.
okay. What's the
Um,
band?
his band's called the Eiffels.
Okay,
I forgot where exactly it was, or maybe it was up by like Six Flags or something. I don't know. It was like outside and it was freezing cold, and it was in the middle of this like street fair. But then you were on that show on the like that Bachelor spinoff too, where
hmm,
my wife and I were watching. Like we're Bachelor. We watched the show. I mean, it's just like some addiction. But
yeah,
like we were watching the one, I'm like, oh, this is cool. They're doing something about songwriting, and then it was like you guys were on, and I'm like, whoa, that was random. Like, tell me about that. And so
yeah. That's actually the last thing that we've done. Which,
really,
yeah, and I think that we filmed that in January. So
yeah, because it was like that show kind of got I mean, it hit that show hard because they were supposed to do something, I think, with the winners, and like, I'm sure they were probably trying to put them on some deal and
and tour
give
them
them a
around.
single, and yeah, and tour them around, and then coronavirus hit, like literally, like after the show kind of ended, it was like
Yeah,
now nobody can tour.
no kidding. Yeah, it probably did crush them a little bit. Yeah, that came about because of I don't know if you know this about me. I met my wife on a reality show.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, man.
That's
So
so awesome. Well, can
yeah,
you tell me about that for a minute? I'm curious. That's cool.
yeah, for sure. So anyway, the real quick, the connection with the
Sorry.
yeah, with the Bachelor show, uh, we still knew some of the producers that
Oh,
put
okay.
on those shows, and so they reached out and they were like, "Hey, would the T's want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like that'd be fun."
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, but yeah, I met her on a show that was on NBC, not ABC. I think ABC's Who Does the Bachelor, right?
Yeah, I think they do. ABC does it.
But a couple of the guys that were producing The Bachelor kind of left, branched off, and went to NBC and created this show that was called Ready for Love. It was like basically NBC trying to swoop up some of that Bachelor fan base.
Okay.
Are you looking at it right now?
Yeah, sorry. I'm Googling
Yeah, man.
because I just want to not forget because I'm going to go find this show now after we're
Oh
done
my
talking.
god. Yeah, you can actually watch it, I think, on Prime, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, man, I have Prime.
Yeah,
Now my wife and I have something to watch.
get after it.
Okay,
Um,
sorry. Go ahead. Called me
yeah,
out on my Google search.
dude, I don't know how. I mean, I remember how, but it was just like so out of character for me to put myself out there on, like, on that limb. But I was in Austin with our A&R guy from Hollywood Records, and we were at this bar on 6th Street, and it was owned by one of the guys who had previously been The Bachelor. And
Oh, okay.
I'd met him a couple times, and jokingly he'd been like, "Oh man, you'd be perfect for something like that. You should do it or something."
Uh-huh.
And my A&R guy was right there, and he was like, "You should do that."
He's like light bulb.
And and I mean, I'm sure it was half drunken that I was like, "Oh man, just get me a meeting or whatever."
Right.
And they set up a meeting like the next week, and so just after that, like small, verbal commitment, he was like, "You got to come out here. They want to meet with you or whatever." So I did. I flew out to LA, and I did. I think two separate like fly out interview type of things for The Bachelor,
Uh-huh.
and they ended up picking the runner up from The Bachelorette the previous season. It was like it came down to using him or using me. Supposedly, that's what they said.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, "But we'll definitely keep you in mind for future seasons." I was like, "All right, whatever." Like, not meant to be. And the T's were pretty busy at that
Uh-huh.
time. I had just come off of Rhythm of Love. We had just had that hit, and so I went home and was like, "Oh, whatever." Like, no, was not meant to
Yeah,
be.
whatever. Yeah, totally.
And then I got a call from these guys at NBC who were like, "Hey, we just left The Bachelor. We're going to do this show. Eva Longoria is going to be a part of it, and NBC is dumping a grip of money at it. It would be you and two other guys who would like stand in as like bachelors, and then you would kind of go through the motions, date a bunch of girls, and yeah, hopefully you come out with the love of your life." And I did.
That's
So
so amazing.
yeah, and the show, man, like just an insane production. They ran it kind of like The Bachelor. They, you go on all these, dates and whatnot. But then they had at that point, NBC was doing, they were killing it with The Voice, so they
Uh,
built a giant sound stage, just like The Voice, and we did part of the show live in front of an audience.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
where
Like a
you
Universal Studios area?
yeah, like one of those big television lots there,
Yeah.
and you had to like address the girls and discuss the dates, and then they had matchmakers who kind of talked the girls through certain stuff, certain elements of the relationships, and then you had to go on this elevator and get dropped down into this garden, and then that's where you broke up with people. It was oh, it was
Yeah,
crazy, man. Like
that's funny.
at that point, I was like, you know, I don't know how many like Miller Lights I drank to get through that whole process, but I was
Sure.
backstage like, ah.
Oh, that's so cool though. That's amazing that you're able to find your wife on that show. I'm
I
watching
know,
it. We're watching it tonight. So
I know, yeah. Dude, check it out. It's yeah, it was pretty wild. Super fortunate, and then also the guys that were on that show with me have become like lifelong buddies.
that's
So
cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
certainly like it wasn't a show that blew up, and it didn't really do anything for like I don't think it really did too much for like our fan base or anything like that. But total win, you
That's
know.
cool. Yeah. I mean, you got your wife out of it, right? That's the
Yeah,
biggest,
yeah.
that's the biggest prize.
Ultimate win. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at the cover now after I Google searched it, and I vaguely remember like ads for it now.
Yeah, dude. Like they had I'm sure I've got photos of it somewhere, like Sunset Strip, giant billboards with our faces on it.
That's rad.
If you went to New York, it was like every like fourth taxi cab had our faces on it and stuff. It was
Was
wild.
that weird? That must have been wild to
Dude,
see.
yeah, I mean, even after like the band stuff and having success there, this kind of felt just like what is even happening right now, you know?
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, well, so you guys were. Let's go back to you and your solo career. But I mean, I'm still curious, like what you guys had going on, like right before the pandemic started. You said the last thing you guys played was that Bachelor show.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, I mean, I think that we were kind of wrapping up a touring cycle. We put out a record called Parallel Universe,
Hmm.
went and toured that, and uh, and we're getting ready to step into like the writing stage, anyways, of an album. So probably good timing. I mean, there's never really good timing for a pandemic, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just used like what I talked about before. Used the kind of that idle hands feeling. You know, I was like, man, I gotta put myself to work, and so wrote a couple more songs. Took a couple that I had in the past and kind of reworked them. Um, got in the studio here in Austin. Some with a gentleman named Adrian Quesada. He's the guitar player for Black Pumas. And runs a studio here. Had him produce up a couple songs. He was able to put together a really, really great band for me for doing some live passes in studio. We ended up using those on the record, and then ended up getting Jim Eno from Spoon
Oh, wow.
to mix the record, which was
That's
great. And
dope.
yeah, to get in the studio with him and watch him work was pretty incredible. They're
Yeah.
one of my all-time favorite bands.
I
So
love that band. That's
yeah, I
so
mean they
cool.
basically can do no wrong. It seems like,
Sure.
but he's got a phenomenal ear. So I felt like, you know, if we could come close with a rough mix and then hand it over to him, it was like guaranteed to come back sounding, beyond what you'd expect. So
Right. How did you get in contact with him, and how were you able to have him mix the record?
man, Austin is it's still kind of small enough. I feel like where if you've got like a mutual acquaintance or something like that. I actually reached out to Jim first for production, and I did that kind of blindly. I just called his studio without any sort of introduction and was like, "Hey, I've been in the Plain White Tees and got some material that I was wondering if Jim would produce," and sent over a couple of songs. And he told me later when he was mixing, he was like, "Yeah, I really liked the songs, but we were right in the middle of tracking the Spoon album.
Oh,
And so he passed on production and then reached back out about mixing. Or no, let's see. Adrian asked him about mixing, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I remember these songs. I definitely want to mix them. I'm about like 2 weeks out from finishing Spoon. Can he wait that long?" And I, of course, was like, "Yeah." I mean, we got no rush
yeah.
to have that kind of lineup on the album was pretty killer. So
That is so rad. With these songs, you said you kind of knew that they weren't gonna be Plain White Tee songs. Like when you wrote them, was it kind of one of those things where like, or did you pitch any of them to the other guys at
yeah,
all?
yeah. I think usually along the way, I probably shared it with those guys, some of them. But direction wise, right now, the T's are going after, especially, I don't know if you heard the last record that we did, Parallel Universe, but it was kind of
Hmm.
like an electro
Yeah.
rock record.
Hmm.
And and I think the idea for the next one is to get a little back closer to stuff that we've had a lot of success with, more acoustic based, and all that. And so some of these songs that I'm putting out in the Timothy Howls project, they don't fit that mold. So I
Got
kind of
it.
knew off the top that it wasn't going to work for Plain White Tees. And and like I said, I mean, this is just a chance to hold all the control myself,
Hmm.
and to get together with some guys around Austin to try to make a little dent in Austin. I haven't done that much since I've been out here for um, 15 years,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and I don't really gig in Austin that much. And it was kind of like, man, I've been here this long, and it's taken me this long to like meet all these great musicians, and so yeah, I just kind of felt like these are the right songs to take out here.
That's cool. I bet a lot of people didn't even realize that you lived in Austin.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I keep it pretty low profile out here.
It's yeah, that always fascinates me because I'd be like in San Diego and there'd be certain like Pierre from Simple Plan is one person that like I didn't know he lived in San Diego until like I interviewed him one time and he's like, "Yeah, I've lived here for like 15 years." I'm like, "What? Like
Yeah,
really?"
yeah,
People are probably shocked like, "Wait, what? Tim from Plain White Tees lives here in Austin?" Like, "What?"
yeah, dude. I just played golf with Pierre out in Ojai.
Oh, really? Yeah, he moved to Ojai, right?
Yeah,
With his family.
yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
he was living in Encinitas. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's
Like
got a
I
great spot in Ojai, man.
That's cool. That's rad. I didn't realize that you're buddies with him, but yeah, I interviewed him. We interviewed Plain White or Simple Plan for this podcast when you could actually meet with people in person, and they played the fairgrounds in San Diego.
Yeah,
And while I was talking to him, he came up and he had an Encinitas thing on his car, and I was like, did you live here or something? And he's like, yeah, I've lived here for like 15 years or something, or 10 years. I'm like, what? Like, how are you never like spotted about in San Diego? And he's like, yeah, just keep it like low profile.
yeah. It probably beats the Canadian winners, you know.
Sure. Totally.
So,
Totally.
yeah,
That's
he's a good
rad.
dude. I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's
But
really cool. So,
actually, they helped. I think they helped break the tease a little bit. They took us on one of the first like bigger um, national tours. We were out with.
oh, did they really?
Yeah, we were in a van back then, and out supporting those guys. So we've crossed paths quite a few times since then,
Sure.
and it's always just kind of like old friends. So
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, okay, back to your record. So how did you get Timothy Howls? Like, how did that start? Was it just like an alter ego you decided to come up with?
yeah, I mean, there's a reason for it. Howells, I took from my last name. My last name's Lopez, and Lopez means wolf in Latin.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just kind of used it to splice that the howling wolf kind of thing in there.
I love it.
Um, and yeah, needed a way of making sure, like, for example, what you just did is like, if somebody's like, oh, what's the new Tim Lopez project all about? They type it into Google and you get Ready for Love, you know.
Right.
So I was wanting to make sure that the first thing people found was this record, and if they dig a little deeper, then they'll find Ready for Love and Plain White Tees. But I was just looking for a little bit of space there to make sure that if you heard this record and you dug it, then you kind of appreciated it for what it was first before figuring out the rest. You know.
I love it. And I love the single that you've released so far, Lightning from the Blue Sky. What was that? Is that kind of the, or like, why did you decide on that being the first song that you put out?
I mean, I like the idea of coming out of the gates with something positive and poppy and fun and energetic. Um, and that one, it definitely felt like one of those songs when I wrote it that just came together so easily. And usually when that happens for me, it's because everything's kind of fallen into place the right way. And I try not to get in my own way about stuff like that. If a song feels good and is written really quickly, and then if I share it with people and they're vibing it, then like I said, I just kind of like, this is the one, we're going with this kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I had got a lot of friends out here that are musicians, and instantly gravitated towards that song, and so just kind of rolled with it.
Right on. And when does the rest of the record come out?
May 21st. So the
Couple weeks.
EP is called, yeah, a couple weeks. I'm going out to shoot another video on Monday. And yeah, man, just trying to stay busy, keep the pedal down. And yeah, with it coming out in a couple weeks, trying to get some shows on the calendar. And yeah, just push. As soon as the doors open, for full blown club shows, I want to be, practiced and ready to go. So
I love it. It's called the Rumble, right? The record?
the Rubble.
Rubble.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. I can't wait to hear the rest of it. And I can't wait to see you and see some shows coming up. I mean, it looks like bands have stuff on the books, which is probably pretty exciting.
Yeah, I've been noticing. I mean, follow enough people on Instagram and seeing like, we're putting up dates August through October. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen like, yeah, like Bonnaroo is happening in September, like
Yeah,
Outside Lands, and
what's happening here? So
oh yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I guess we'll have to. I mean, if they're booking massive festivals, that's probably a pretty good sign for the smaller club dates.
yeah, I would think so. I mean, obviously, outdoor things seem to be a little bit more advisable or safer in
Sure.
that way. But yeah, if you're going to jam 100,000 people in a field,
Right.
I think they're probably expecting most people to be either, vaccinated or herd immune or whatever it is, So
Right.
hopefully we're on the tail end of all this stuff. So
Yeah. Very cool. I can't wait, like I said, to hear the rest of the record. And I really appreciate you doing this today. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
yeah, man, good to see you.
Yeah. I do have one more question before I let you go. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Sure. I mean, I was talking about this with my buddy the other day. It feels um, like dedication to your craft is really all it takes to find some kind of audience. Like it's weird for myself. I'm a guitar player and a songwriter, um, but there are infinite number of guitar players who are better than I am. Um, but my commitment to songwriting and playing, and especially playing out live and just getting up there on stage, bearing yourself to an audience, all that, I think is really what pays. It's if you go into a guitar center, you're going to find plenty of musical talent, guys ripping on guitars and stuff. But I think just continuing to work and try to improve yourself and trying to better the craft of songwriting or playing, and then just getting out and doing it. Like I said, I don't think that by any means I'm the best at those things, but but I've worked hard at it. So, oh shit,
Uh,
did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. Did I freeze up?
No, let me try to get back to this page here though. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, I can't see you right now. Hang on for a sec. Or maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, I would just say like commit fully, you know. You can only divide yourself so much, and you need to dedicate a lot of yourself to music if you want to succeed. I don't think that it pays off to be half in, you know. And luckily, when I was young, I had all the time in the world to get in a van and live with these guys in the T's, and spent years of our lives grinding and carving out a little fan base for ourselves. But I think that that's a possibility for anybody. So just kind of finding your own sound and committing to it.